All right, so I was watching another Millennial Steam video. Sorry, I'm going to be moving the camera around a little bit here. Hopefully it stays relatively steady. But I was watching his video, and he talks about having connections, which I agree with 100%. If you don't come from a family that has connections and you have like little parental support, it's not impossible to have like a good outcome, but it's just much harder. Right? You don't have a bunch of things that are just kind of handed to you or given to you, and you don't have a lot of parental guidance or support along the way. And I made a video talking about him a while back, but his videos are, obviously he's negative, and I guess I can't really blame him given his situation. He's got 4 college degrees. He went to college for a long time. I think like certainly like 7, 8, 10 years or something like that. And, I think you take some responsibility for making sure you get some amount of a marketable degree, right? I don't think it's totally the education or the schooling system's fault if you get 4 different degrees and none of them are useful. I mean, yes, I think some of that's on the school, but also some of that's on the individual for staying in school that long and getting a degree that you're pretty sure there's not a very good job at the end of it, right? So he had to work at like Walmart because, you let's say you go to school for 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years, you get 1 or 2 degrees. If you can't land a job like pretty quickly within a few months in your field, making like a decent income, you're kind of like up a creek without a paddle. What are you supposed to do, right? That's what he said. Like at first, you think, well, I'm above that job. I'm not going to take that job. I'm not going to work at Walmart. Why would I go to college if I end up working at Walmart, or I end up working like a warehouse retail type job? Why would I go to college? I could just do that at 17 or 18 years old and not have to go to college, not have to spend money in tuition, and have 4 years of my life back in terms of just time. I agree with him, but he couldn't find a good job or a job that paid well enough that was in his field to take. So he ends up having to be what he calls like a desperation worker, meaning I didn't have any intention of taking this job, but I'm forced to, right? I don't have parents to fall back on. I don't have a support system. I don't have a network of people that can get me, references or like a good opportunity at a different company. And so now I'm forced to go work at Walmart. And it's a very humbling experience because this is a guy that had, spent tens of thousands of dollars on tuition, went into debt, is educated, went to school, and then he ends up making, $10 an hour or $12 an hour, whatever it is, when he was working there. So the power of having a network and knowing people in the real world is incredibly valuable. And also coming from, like a family that has connections or that has resources, because it sounds like he didn't, right? His parents not around, didn't leave him a bunch of resources or anything. The guy was bouncing around from job to job, and it's hard to pay for everything if you have a low paying job, right? You spend a lot of your time at work. You don't really make enough money to really ever get ahead. And you're kind of stuck, because you have to spend basically all your time working just so that you can afford to not be homeless. And I think that's kind of where he comes at it. And because he doesn't have a network of people that he can rely on or that can get him opportunities, he's kind of trapped wherever he's at. So I think now he makes better money, like maybe $100,000 or a little bit more per year. But because his expenses are relatively high, and he lives by himself, it's you have to do that for probably 20 years before or 10 to 15 years at least, before you really kind of have some financial stability. And, home ownership or anything like that is probably out of the question, just because you have to have you have to be making a really quality income to be able to afford a house on your own and then comfortably afford the mortgage payment on top of all the other expenses just with living. So I feel for people like that. It's not ideal. You don't want to spend time and money going to school and then end up not really getting the benefit for it, and being, having to foot the bill for your education. And it's not a good situation. You look at like the people in Congress. I was just watching the news, and who was it? Who was the judge? Clarence Thomas, I think. The guy was taking like $4 or $5 million in gifts or bribes or whatever you want to call it. So when you get someone in a position of power, a lot of times they're going to abuse it, and they're going to do favors for their friends. They're going to take bribes. They're going to do things that enrich their own position. And that is why a lot of jobs, like good jobs, often get filled internally, or they get filled by someone's friend. And if you're just an outsider applying to jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed or one of these sites, you're like one person out of maybe 1,000 or 100 people that are applying. So your odds of getting an interview are pretty slim. And then your odds of getting like a real good offer are even slimmer, right? If you don't know anyone, if you don't like jump off the page of the resume with all your work experience and all these qualifications and skills you have, you're just going to get tossed in a pile with like 50 other people. And it's very, very low chance that you're going to get that opportunity. And another point he said was that oftentimes a lot of those jobs that are on these job sites are like not very good jobs. They're lower paying jobs because, like I said, the jobs that are actually high paying usually get filled internally, or they get filled by a recruiter, that is actually like seeking out candidates. They're not waiting for people to apply. They're looking at people on LinkedIn, and they're making offers to those people to come and apply to their job based on their work experience, right? And they're actively hunting those people. Indeed is like just a cesspool of resumes. There's just people that fire off 100 resumes. So it's way easier to apply to a job today, but it's like way harder now, because you just get looped in with 100 other people, and you could probably send 500 resumes and maybe not even get one interview. You might get a few, but your success rate is so low because the Indeed and all the job sites are just flooded with resumes. So it's much better to know someone and to have a real connection than to just be firing off resumes. Both can work, but it's a real uphill battle if you don't know anyone and you don't have, a bunch of great work experience or qualifications. So you guys let me know what you think on that. Have you guys had success on Indeed? I'm going to think most of the time, if you got a decent job, you probably got, you knew someone there, or you met someone and they offered you a position. It was more of a human connection probably than just firing a resume on LinkedIn, but maybe I'm wrong. You guys let me know, and you can subscribe if you want. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.